In order to get started with our Unity, we're going to launch our Unity program, and then we're going to click on New and title your project. I'm going to call this one Terrain Demo. I'm going to make sure it says 3D, and where it says location, I'm actually going to change this. Please change this to somewhere like a storage device. In this case, all of you are going to use the D drive. If you don't have a folder yet for your stuff, we'll call it, put your name on it and your year of graduation, and go into that folder and select that folder, and then create project. What you're going to start with is this kind of a layout where you have your objects here on the left. You have some assets that you can drag from down here. We'll talk about scenes in a minute. And notice how when you click on things on the right hand side, the inspector, or I should call it properties, show up over here. So if you wanted to change the properties of any one of these objects, you would find them over here. Pretty simple setup. Up here on these tabs, you have scene, which is what you're working on. Game, which is kind of the point of view of when the game is run, and then of course asset store, where you can find tons of different packages and supplies. And then there's a play, pause, and we'll talk about that in a second. Up here you also have some manipulation tools for your objects, rotate and stuff like that. When working with Unity, you're going to save twice. You're going to save your project, but you're also going to save your scene. In this case we have a sample scene. Let's go new scene, and let's just save it right away. Save the scene, and let's in assets, and let's call it our terrain demo, or you're going to call it terrain game or something like that. I've noticed that it did not go into my scenes folder. That's no big deal. I can drag it in. So now it's in my scenes folder. Try to stay organized as we move forward. Alright, so this scene looks pretty boring right now. Let's give it some life. And over here where you're gonna add some stuff, and let's right click, go to 3D object, and go to terrain. So what we got is this very big terrain that just shows up. Very, very big. Notice our camera way over there and our light way over there. Alright, so now there are some things we're going to do with this terrain, and if you go over to, actually if you make sure you're on the terrain, you go to the paintbrush tool, we could raise or lower the terrain, and that's what we're going to do first. And with your paintbrush you can use different styles here, as you can see. And as you left click it, this is what happens. You kind of like build your terrain. Now this is very strong. You can change the brush size. As you can see, that's very big. What I could do is hold shift and paint it back down. The trick is going to be into just clicking lightly and then holding shift if you go a little too strong. And the idea is to get some kind of terrain going. So you can do it like that. If you go over to here and choose set height, you can set a specific height level right here. And as you paint out, it'll paint that height level. So paint around, say this area here, kind of make like a kind of a flat area and some hills on the outside. You can also do smooth height. That does it, kind of levels everything out to a certain kind of general height. What I might do is use different brushes here and there, kind of give it a little character, and then choose smooth height and change the brush to something like this and kind of smooth it over That way it looks a little ragged and different. Alright, now this doesn't look very pretty. We need to give it some, coloring materials, right? So in order to do that, we need to go to our asset store. And what we're going to need is, we need this one called Standard Assets. This is a set of assets that includes some terrains, some basic character models and such. You're going to choose Import, and then make sure these are all checked, and check Import. Alright, now with standard assets we get a lot of things. We get cameras, characters, and so on and so forth, some environment. What we want to put in our scene is a player, right? We want to actually have somebody in there so that we can move around and those kinds of things. So you're going to go to the characters folder. Actually, you can navigate over here. It's a lot easier. And what we're going to do is first person character. So, character, first person. So we're going to drop it into your scene. So let's find a spot for it. Say right about here. And we're going to go first person character, prefab. Prefab means that it's already set up, ready to go. And we want first person controller. And if you notice, it's probably going to be in the ground a little bit. So we kind of want to raise that up out of the ground. So you're going to press the move tool, grab the green, bring it up off the ground a little bit. So now is the time when you press the play button, you actually are going to be able to control this character that's walking around using the WASD commands, the WASD commands. And right now it looks like a snowy landscape because we haven't really done any decor yet. We haven't done any decorating. To get out of this mode, you're going to use escape and stop the play button. One thing to note too is after you're done playing and kind of testing out your game, you definitely want to hit the play button again to stop it. Hitting pause does not allow you to edit afterwards, and you think you're going to be editing and you're not. So try to avoid that hitting pause unless you're really not going to do any edits. Alright, in order to add some textures to this, we're going to go to terrain, and over here we're going to click on brush and make sure it says paint texture, and then we're going to edit our terrain layers and create a layer. What you're going to do is then type in grass, and we're going to use this one right here, and voila, we have some grass already covering our terrain. And if we hit play again, we will have something a little bit more friendly looking. And at any time you want to edit your terrain again and kind of change it up now that you can see what it looks like from first person view, you can go ahead and do that by going back over to raise lower, and taking care of the countryside a little bit. Alright, in order to get a different kind of look here like sand, I'm going to make sure I'm going to paint texture and edit, and I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to call this one a sand, and I'm going to choose sand. And with sand selected, I should be able to paint. See, I can paint sand onto the ground. So I might change my brushes and kind of put a spattering of sand. I can change the size of the brush and kind of mix it up so that it's not too much the same. I can change the strength with the opacity here. Again, change the brushes a little bit. And so what I get is this kind of smattering of sand mixed in with the grass. And you can do it up in here. You can do it up over the mountain somewhere. So you kind of paint your landscape with some desert texture mixed in there. So yeah, do that to kind of give it some flavor. So then when you hit play, you're going to get, well, a kind of a different look as you walk around. Walk around, you go up the mountains and visit. So notice when we play, we look around and we have a basic sky, not a lot going on. There might be a sun up there, but that's about it. What we're going to do is we're going to add a skybox. We need to go to the asset store, and we're looking for a classic skybox. Go ahead and click on it. Go ahead and click import. And then what you'll have are all your skyboxes down here under assets, classic skybox. In order to apply it to our sky, what we need to do is we need to go into window, rendering, lighting settings, and where it says skybox material, click to the right here, and we're going to look for our skybox materials. We can search it or just go ahead and find. Here we go. There's quite a variety. We'll make this bigger so we can see it. All right, so we need to choose one that's going to work for us. So let's check this one right here, and we're going to bring that in. And yeah, when we look around, we got this beautiful sky. Kind of nice.